thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, February 6th, 2026. Today is National Chopsticks Day today, you guys.
Get your sushi.
You like sushi?
I love sushi.
Yeah, sushi is great, bro. I'm a big fan of sushi.
Give me some Toro all day.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's see what else do we have going on today. Let's see, it is also today National Bubblegum Day.
Okay, chew it up.
Do you know that bubblegum is made from tree bark?
Mm-hmm.
I always found that interesting when I learned that. I don't think many people know that.
The gum from the tree.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Mark, what's so funny about that? You think everyone knows that?
It's made from tree resin.
There we go. I mean, it's extracted from the bark.
Not necessarily made from the bark.
Of course, you're going to try to bring in the science part on it, but, you know, it's cute.
Well, whenever I could use the word resin, I use it.
Fair enough. It's also National Frozen Yogurt Day today. It's National Froyo Day. You guys obviously don't like frozen yogurt.
It's already frozen out there.
Oh, yeah. And, this is also... last but not least, one of my other favorite days. It's National Wear Red Today, you guys.
I always wear red.
Yeah. Shout out to the color red. We love the color red. You know, it's the shortest color to spell too, Dr. Mark.
What's it smell like?
Oh, red smells great. We love red. Why did this thing pop up on here? Why go away?
Yeah, when it's a good marinara sauce, it does smell good.
Oh, look at I see what you did there. How do I get you out of here? Oh, no, son of a bitch. There we go. Sorry, there was a pop-up that popped up on my teleprompter. I hate when it does that. It so bothers me. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet, and we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And looks like, is Dr. T coming in? There he is. Good morning, Dr. T. Welcome.
Morning.
Yes.
How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing amazing. Yeah, see, none of you guys got the memo. It's National Wear Red Day today.
I always wear red, dude. I
Mhm.
did get the memo.
I don't see red on your shirt, Jesse.
Bro, I'm a redhead, so
Oh, man. Well, West Virginia bill would let doctors decide who qualifies for medical marijuana, removing the set condition list. I think you doctors are going to like this. Let the doctors determine what's going on. A bill filed today in the West Virginia House of Delegates would change how patients qualify for medical cannabis by shifting the decision from a rigid list of conditions to the professional judgment of a physician. What a novel approach. House Bill 5092 was introduced today by Delegate Mike Pushkin, a Democrat, Delegate Hollis Lewis, a Democrat, and Delegate Rick Garcia, a Democrat, and has been referred to the House Health and Human Resources Committee for consideration. Under the current law, patients must be diagnosed with one of several specifically listed medical conditions in order to receive a medical marijuana certification, and those conditions include cancer, HIV, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, PTSD, terminal illness, and several others explicitly written into the statute. HB 5092 would remove that fixed list entirely, and instead the bill defines a serious medical condition as any condition that, in the professional judgment of a medical doctor, would benefit from the use of medical cannabis. The legislation explicitly states that the purpose of the change is to grant attending physicians the authority to use their professional judgment when certifying patients. If approved, the change would give doctors far greater discretion in determining whether cannabis is appropriate for patients' treatment, rather than requiring patients to fit into one of the state's pre-approved categories. Wow. Hopefully this bill gets passed. I think it's a common sense bill. I think it needs to go. People need to endorse it. People need to get behind it. And after all, people want to always say, believe the science. And so let the doctors do their jobs and stop making them fit square pegs into round holes. And on that, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Well, yeah, clearly we love this. I've seen people for many reasons who use cannabis, and I don't think I've seen all of the reasons. There are always new and rare things that happen where cannabis might be helpful, and so to be given the opportunity to work with the patient rather than, like you say, fit a small peg, a round peg in a square hole. Yeah. But it also brings up that any serious medical condition. That was something that Dr. Todd McCarea invented back in the day. Rest in peace.
Indeed.
He's one of the founders, right? Did you ever visit Dr. McCarea?
Yeah,
Jason?
no, I knew Dr. Todd. I knew Dr. Todd, had a number of different interactions with him over the years. I always was a big supporter of him and his work, and he was one of the leading pioneer doctors in California that started recommendations. And you're exactly right. It was his suggestion to include that last line in Prop 215 that everyone was saying, oh, we should remove, that basically said anything that cannabis alleviates pain and suffering from. And so that is basically the same thing as this, and this is just a common sense approach, and it needs to get enacted immediately.
Well, you know how politics is.
I do know how politics, and I also know it's West Virginia, and that bill was endorsed by 3 Democrats. I didn't see one Republican on there, and so that gives me a little bit of, not sure if that's going to hit the finish line, but nonetheless, it is common sense policy, and people need to get behind it, and politicians need to stop acting like they're doctors unless they actually are Dr. Oz.
Oh boy.
You know, just you know what I'm saying? Just saying. What do you think, Dr. Mark? What do you think about this? That's it.
He thinks it's muted.
Yeah, I think you're on mute. Yeah. Oh no, there he is. There he is. I hear you now, buddy.
Oh, it's all good, right?
Nice. Yeah. Good deal. Any thoughts
I
on
don't
this?
have much to say. I mean, it's
good. It's a common sense bill, right?
seems like
Yeah.
but
If common sense was so common.
sense and bills sometimes don't fit in the same vernacular, right?
I don't think any other state has done this outside of California.
Yeah.
So interesting that little old West Virginia is really showing up really blue here.
Yeah, they're a cutting edge on this. They are the only other state that I know that has even proposed any type of anything similar. And I think this is the right approach, and more states need to get on board with this approach and stop trying to legislate medicine. You know what I'm saying? And let the doctors do the jobs that they were trained to do. Let them practice, right, doctors? Let them practice.
Similar to Vermont, West Virginia is a very rural economy,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of farms, the small little tucked away hollers and whatnot. And that they've been growing weed there for years. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
The Appalachians.
Yep, exactly. The Appalachians. Any final thoughts on this, Jesse, before we move on?
No, I just think it's great. That's good common sense. That's the way it should be.
Exactly.
Doctors decide with the patients what they're doing, and it's between them and not anybody else.
Yep, fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. And in regards to Fundamentals 424, I am not an Oprah fan. Sorry. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm here for it. If he's gonna have a CBD company and help make CBD paid for, hey, if that's what it takes, I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of other people I know that have CBD companies that want to get those Medicare endorsements as well. But speaking of Medicare endorsements, doctors, oh man, do I find a humdinger for you guys. Because apparently there's a health tech platform that is launching a program allowing insurance benefit dollars to be used for medical marijuana, you guys. Look at that. Wow. A Cleveland-based health technology company says it has developed a system that could significantly change how patients pay for medical marijuana in states where it is legal. EM2P2 has launched a new platform called Cannabis that allows patients to apply existing health benefit dollars toward medical marijuana purchases and related physician visits. The company says the system works with current insurance and wellness benefit frameworks, offering a compliant pathway for reimbursements without requiring new insurance plans or changes to federal policy. Cannabis was developed as the exclusive technology partner of the American Council of Cannabis Medicine, the ACCM, and serves as the digital infrastructure for ACCM's Elevated States Initiative, which is being rolled out through licensed insurance brokers ahead of open enrollment. Under the program, patients may qualify for monthly reimbursements, typically ranging from $100 to $175 for medical marijuana expenses and associated healthcare visits. Rather than creating new insurance products, Cannabis functions as a secure HIPAA-compliant technology layer that connects existing insurance plans and wellness benefits programs through third-party administrators, better known as TPAs. And these TPAs, which are already licensed to manage wellness benefits, bundle traditional insurance coverage with supplemental benefits that include a monthly stipend. That stipend can be used for qualified therapeutic expenses, including medical marijuana in states where it is legal. When the patient submits a reimbursement request through the platform, Cannabis verifies eligibility, validates the purchase and physician authorization under state law, and routes the claim to the TPA for reimbursement. Because the stipend is funded and administered by the TPA rather than the insurance carrier, the company says the structure avoids federal conflicts while remaining compliant with state regulations. In a quote, "It's private, state compliant, and auditable," said EM2P2 CEO Gennaro Lucy. "No taxpayer money, no federal entanglements, and no creative accounting," he says. The system is designed to integrate with electronic medical records and dispensary point-of-sale systems, allowing transactions to be verified and documented according to the company. This provides transparency for employers, brokers, and dispensaries while ensuring that reimbursements are tied directly to legitimate patient purchases. The platform is being made available in 39 states that currently operate legal medical cannabis programs and where such benefits can be incorporated into ERISA, E-R-I-S-A, and health sharing plans. EM2P2 says the approach allows individual families, gig workers, and even large employers to offer medical marijuana benefits as part of a broader wellness package without exposing insurance carriers to federal risk. And in a quote, they say, "We don't bend or avoid rules. We work within the rules that exist. CannaLink's role is to ensure those rules are followed." And early partners include TPAs such as Dentigo Health, 90 Degrees, and Iron Health, along with broker groups like United Agencies that are beginning to onboard employers into the program. The ACCM says the initiative represents a significant step forward integrating medical marijuana into mainstream healthcare benefit structures, and while the platform does not create direct insurance coverage for medical cannabis, EM2P2 says it demonstrates that reimbursement for cannabis-related medical expenses can be handled lawfully, transparently, and at scale within existing healthcare frameworks, you guys. Wow, look at that! You guys might be able to get your cannabis covered under insurance and get reimbursed. That sounds, send me my stipend, sign me up, Scotty. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
It's a great idea.
Right?
Yeah.
Great idea.
It's a very creative workaround how they're doing it, I think.
Well, I've been billing insurance for my visits for patients for I don't know, about 5-6 years now. There's a way. I mean, the insurance doesn't care what you use to get better. They just care, that they just want to know what your diagnosis and what procedures have been done, and what medications you're prescribing. But if you're not prescribing any medications, they are okay with it. Now, reimbursement for alternative medications is what this group is getting through a third party. So it's a good workaround.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
I'm going to take the devil's advocate on this one.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Insurance as a whole in the medical industry seems to me like it's been kind of a flop. It's actually hurt people. It's hurt patients. It's increased prices. It's made things exorbitant that shouldn't be exorbitant. And I would be worried and concerned that integrating health insurance with cannabis too much would lead to the same problems, where it's going to jack up prices. The people who are going to get the money are the middlemen, and and the patients and the doctors don't actually benefit in the long run.
I mean, you raise a good point. What if they start to funnel you toward a particular product that's not quality, right?
That too.
You choose, your own product, or do you have to go to their pharmacies with their products, right?
Yeah, that as well. So, and then you're going to be paying a ton of money for something that may not work.
Right. I don't think it's there yet, but it could go there. So it's a good word of caution for sure.
Yeah, so-called death panels, right?
What are death panels?
Yeah.
Who dies? Who lives, who dies, and does insurance pay for it, right? To me, I don't know, John, what you think about this, but just when I think about the healthcare situation that we have here in the richest country in the world, right? Richest country in the history of the world, right?
Yeah.
So there's providers like Jean, and then there's patients like me, right? There's patients like me that need care, and there's providers like Jean who give care. And in between providers and patients is this huge behemoth, 9,000-pound gorilla in the room, the insurance industry, that sucks money into their coffers pay their executives all this fucking money while John Q. Public, us, the patients, have to pay more and more our services that should be provided in a modern country. All modern countries provide health coverage, not insurance. The notion that this is insurance, it should be called a health scam, because that's exactly what it is.
Why? What makes you say that?
All that money into their coffers, and I'm not saying that shooting a head of one of these insurance companies point blank on a New York City sidewalk in the back is how you fix the problem. But I think the situation that we're in this country is not sustainable, and it's basically dictatorship, where what runs healthcare is return on investment.
That's true.
These companies that are all in our 401k portfolios.
Did you see? Dr. Mark,
I'll just finish with this notion, JB.
Yeah.
So we all have a dog in the fight, because all of us have, or most of us anyway, have a savings account that invests into mutual funds. I probably have in some of these insurance companies that are profitable as hell. And think about it. What do? They just suck money. Hear that sucking sound? That's the insurance company sucking billions of dollars into their coffers. Am I right, Jean? Basically, that's what's dysfunctional about our healthcare system.
Did you see? I don't know if you saw the congressional hearing where they had all of the healthcare executives in. It was, I believe, it was a Senate hearing, and one of the senators, it may have been in the House of Representatives. I don't really remember. I just remember watching this video, and the member was asking them if their companies own X. And then they all raised their hand. They said, and keep your hands up if you employ this type of a worker and you have control over this type of an entity. They all kept their hands up. And then they did it again for another entity and another class of workforce within the healthcare system, and they all had their hand up still, and they all did it. And they went through like 5 different things and 5 different types of categories of workforce within the healthcare system, and 5 different types of entities of how the whole cabal works, and they all had their hands up the whole time for all of it. And if that doesn't tell you that the whole insurance company is totally corrupt, I totally agree with you on that. But at the same time, this is, every bit of bad has a little bit of good, and can't we just be happy that this is a little bit of good and all that bad?
It's white collar crime on a whole different level.
I have a white collar on easy there.
So imagine if there was no health insurance and we just got care. I can just go to Jean because I have some medical ailment. I could just write him a check for the services that he provides to me, and there it is. Patient giving money to doctor without
Mark,
the insurance company sucking thousands and millions of dollars into their coffers.
Dr. Mark,
imagine if that exists.
I mean, I could to me it does exist, because I don't have health coverage. I haven't had health coverage pretty much my whole adult life, Dr. Mark. So I get that, and I have always operated in that same exact model that you just created, and that's a whole nother reason that I don't believe in getting sick in the first place, and I don't ever get sick because I don't believe in it. I think it's a total farce, total bullshit. You're on mute, You're on mute, Jesse. You're on mute.
We've wandered down a bad path with insurance. Insurance should be for catastrophic events that you can't handle. If you're a normal family and somebody gets cancer, or somebody has a serious heart condition, or some catastrophic thing that interrupts life and makes it very difficult to function, and makes it difficult to make money and transfer money and all the other things, then that's where insurance really should step in. It shouldn't be stepping in for these daily things where you need a little this, a little that, or you need to go see the doctor because you have the flu and you're wondering what it is.
Yeah.
Those types of things should come out of pocket, and we should live in a society. We would think that was the American dream, where we can actually afford Dr. Jean's services for something like that, and he could make a really nice wage being such an amazing provider. And that,
I have what I consider to be pretty average but pretty good medical benefits. I mean, certainly I pay out of my paycheck every time, and my employer pays, right? I sprained my ankle, and I went to go get an X-ray just to make sure it wasn't broken or just sprained ankle. My out-of-pocket expense was $1,600. An X-ray. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, yeah. So we're spinning way out of control from the thing. I think it's great if medical insurance could cover whatever they could cover.
You should ask how much that would be if you paid cash. It might be a third of the cost if you paid cash. So that price is really the game that's being played between the insurance companies and the hospital, right? They've agreed to pad their fees there.
I actually have a wonderful anecdote about that.
Oh boy, here we go.
So when my third child was born, it was the first time that we did an ultrasound, and we went into this awesome place that did the very best ultrasound that was 3D, and you could see it in color, and it was like all the most advanced stuff. And we didn't have insurance at the time, or we didn't tell them about our insurance. We did have some insurance, but we didn't tell them about it. We told them we were just going to pay cash, and it was $150 when we left. So we paid $150 in cash, and that was that. We got the ultrasound. It was done. The next time, my fourth child, we went to the same clinic, and we decided, we'll just put it on our insurance, $150, $200. It'll go in there and we'll pay our deductible. It'll work our deductible down. It ended up being over $1,000 in billing when they billed the insurance. So it was almost 10 times the price, the difference between paying cash and paying with insurance. And that highlights, I think, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That highlights exactly what's going on. And I would be concerned that once we start going down that road with cannabis, it would become the same thing, where you're suddenly paying, $400 for an eighth.
Yep.
So I would be very worried about this. It could. For patients that need like extreme stuff and need like high amounts of concentrate for cancer or something, it could make sense, but for most people, I don't know.
Well, what's funny is Anna Lewis in the chat, she just jumped in. She said, that's how we paid for my babies. Elliot negotiated for everything, and we made cash. So
paid cash.
Yeah, paid cash. Excuse me, paid cash. Yes, paid cash. Yep. And Steve Blessingham in the chat, I hope you had a great birthday yesterday. Steve says, I just got Medicare starting yesterday, saving about $500 a month. Look at that. Savings.
Yeah, remember, this is not an entitlement. You paid into Medicare, just like Social Security. Not an entitlement. You paid into it. Right? The narrative that this is somehow some free government handout. You've paid into it.
I'm not really into free government handouts, but you know what I'm saying, when they're offering them.
It's not a free government handout. We paid into it.
Well, some people did. Some people did. I'm not sure if I have.
I collect Social Security, right? The reason why I collect it is because I paid into it all those years.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
I'm with it.
Same thing with Medicare. You pay into it all those years, you're going to get money out.
Interesting. Great opinions today, you guys. A wide variety of disagreement. I love it. That's what we're here for. And on that, we're going to roll right into Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your doctor's recommendation online all the time. And before you know it, he's going to have a doctor's license in West Virginia, too, when this bill passes. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. It is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Happy Friday, everyone. So my story is from the University of Colorado Antics. I don't know where that is. Newsletter. Study finds cannabis usage in middle age and older adults associated with larger brain volume, better cognitive function. So there's a biobank data from the United Kingdom, which helps researchers examine drug usage in this understudied group. Research studying the effects of cannabis on the brain has often focused on adolescents. But a new study from CU Anschutz researchers looks at population-level impacts of cannabis usage on the brain in older adults. More older adults are using cannabis. It's more widely available and is being used for different reasons than in younger folks, such as for sleep and chronic pain, said Annika Guha, PhD, a clinical psychologist and faculty research associate in the Department of Psychiatry at CU Anschutz. Plus, people are living longer. We have to be asking, what are the long-term effects of cannabis use as we continue to age? So the research team found that cannabis usage in older adults was generally associated with larger volumes in several brain regions and better cognitive function in adults ages 40 to 70. Guha said she was surprised by the extent of the positive findings, but she emphasized that cannabis use studies are difficult with other often unknown variables, noting that the constituents and potency of the cannabis product study subjects used were unknown. They found, so here are the key points. They found larger regional brain volumes and better cognitive function among middle-aged and older adults who use cannabis, especially in moderate use cases. So the areas of the brain studied including learning and memory, processing speed, attention, and executive function. So they're traditionally thought of at odds with cannabis consumption. So it was the opposite of the Spicoli effect. However, another brain region, the posterior cingulate, which is part of the limbic system and is implicated in processes like memory, learning, and emotion, saw lower volumes, suggesting the impact of cannabis the impact that cannabis has on the brain is complex and nuanced, requiring further investigation. We're really interested in thinking about both the benefits and risk and understanding this drug in the context of mental health, dementia, and more, said Guha. There's so much more to explore. So this study was performed by reviewing brain images of 26,362 participants, aged 40 to 77, with an average age of 55 from the UK Biobank. So the Biobank is a huge data set containing health measures important to aging, like neuroimaging and cognitive assessment. It also includes some information on cannabis use. So in the UK Biobank, people were asked to estimate how many times they'd use cannabis over their lifetime, and they grouped the people into no use, moderate use, and high use, based on the number of times they'd used cannabis. And this allowed researchers to approximate a dose-dependent effect. I'm sure more study is needed, but the take-home message from this study so far seems to indicate the opposite of the prominent myth. Moderate cannabis use does not reduce your cognitive function as you get older. In fact, quite the opposite. It seems to improve cognitive function. The effect is dose-dependent, where high cannabis use doesn't work as well as moderate use. And it's important to point out that the data shows correlation and not causation. And to actually prove that cannabis makes you smarter, we would need a randomized control trial. So this is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
Interesting, Dr. T. So I think cannabis may make some people smarter, but I think it does make some people dumber too. So I would love to see it.
Is where you're headed, maybe.
I mean, I would really love to see a study on that. I think that would be like super interesting, because I think some people just have smart genes and some people just have dumb genes, and that's just, you know what I'm saying, how, you know, some people have higher IQs than others and whatnot. And, you know, I'm not even going to go into that one because there's way too much trolling that I could totally do, but I'm going to save you guys on that one.
How much do you think that person's environment has to do with that?
You know, I think, well, so here's the thing is I think that when you're born, you start off with a base smart level, right? And then And then depending on your environment, you can go up X number of points on your smart level, or you could go down on your smart level. But I think when you're born, you have an initial smart level, and then depending on your environment and how you react to it and learn from it, and your learning curve, so to say, depends on how many points you could go up or down on that scale. And at the end of the day,
people that can't reach other people's scale.
yes, that is totally true. Trust me, I deal with that every day, having to explain stuff to people. I totally understand that, doctor. I totally understand that. Dr. Mark, what do you think about this? You're a smart guy.
Yeah, I think your assessment is kind of right. I think people have I think it's part of your genetics.
Mm-hmm.
Survival of the fittest.
Yep.
And evolutionary pressures, basically says that, not all, and I see it in my classroom, I see it in our students, certain, okay.
It's tries to teach everyone, no matter where you start out, right?
I think that's the key thing as a professor is no matter what level of base intelligence an individual has, you have to be able to break down these complicated subjects like chemistry so they can understand what it is that they're learning. And some students definitely take more teaching than others. Other students get it right away. So I think there is something to that, JB.
I mean, I was one of those students that got it right away. That's how I was in school.
And some students do. And I was a student who didn't get it right away, but I was always kind of like paired with a student who got it right away. Mm-hmm. So it made me always feel like I was trying to play catch up, so I think part of the way I learn and the way I have to immerse myself in it. And sometimes, like there's the old adage that if you study high, you better take the test stoned, right? If your thinking process, and I remember hours of study along with hours of cannabis use, where I think the cannabis use helped me focus. I know sometimes like people have difficult with focus in cannabis. I think certain people, like for me, I almost need to, completely lock out everything else so I can just focus on what I'm learning. And to me, cannabis helps me do that. I've seen other situations where maybe cannabis just makes your mind wander and you're looking out the window and you're not really paying attention to what's going on. But I think where I get it from too is I'm a musician. And usually I'm in a group and we're all using cannabis. I think what cannabis does is it helps lower our ego, or like in order to collaborate with people. And even in the classroom, in order to teach people, you really have to lower your ego, right? You almost have to ignore yourself, as weird as that sounds. Especially if you're making music with other people, you have to be able to communicate with them, right? Like I've always said, you can never make music in a band where the guy is like banging your wife or banging your girlfriend. That ain't gonna work, right? You need to really have a good emotional relationship with the people that you're making music with. Again, I almost strive for the same thing in the classroom, where I try to really tailor my teaching to the abilities of the students. And like I said, I had a student in here yesterday. She was grateful that I took time out of my day to kind of meet with her and go through some problems with her, because I think in the classroom situation, there's other social dynamics about maybe the kid doesn't want to ask a question. Mm-hmm. I always say there's no such thing as dumb questions. There's just dummies who don't ask questions. So I encourage my students to ask questions to create a very dynamic environment. But the learning mind.
You play, Mark?
What's that?
What instrument do you play?
I play guitar.
Nice. Bass?
Anything with strings.
So
I play banjo, mandolin. I can play violin, but I don't have one.
Jason.
But yeah, Blaine. blame Jerry Garcia on that. I'm just hopelessly lost as a Garcia kid who followed the Grateful Dead around probably for too many years of my life. But I'll just end by saying this. When it comes to base intelligence, I think cannabis can help with people who are maybe on the spectrum or who are easily distracted by other things. Sometimes cannabis can help you laser focus. And sometimes that's what some students need to be able to finish assignment or be able to learn something, is really that laser focus. And maybe, again, it lubricates the mind to think about things in an alternative way, which is always a good thing when you're learning new things, is to consider other approaches to solving problems and stuff.
It's funny, Dr. Mark, you bring up that, because a lot of what you talked about also goes into politics. Hey, Jason, a lot of that stuff goes into politics too. And so like for instance, like when we create our laws for our roadways, right? A lot of that is like super dumbed down, because it's like why is there so many stop signs, right? It's because we have to create that median average for all the dumb people, because we're allowing the dumb people to drive too. You know what I'm saying? And so they have to do things too. In all fairness, they got to get around too. But we don't have dumb roads and we don't have smart roads, which that maybe we should maybe that's a good idea. You know what I mean? That's.
Who's to say what's dumb and what's smart? Everybody, it's a.
I could tell you what's dumb and what's smart right now. Okay, people that sit in traffic versus people that get into the paid diamond lane. Okay, that's the difference between stupid and dumb, and you can see the ratio of people right there. Of all the people that want to just sit in their car, waste their time, you know what I'm saying? That is the perfect example of the amount of dumb people versus the amount of smart people in a visual aspect.
I don't know. You live in Southern California. Maybe we should start with people who decide to live in Southern California because the traffic is so insane there.
I mean, hey, Jason. And then you brought up this other thing. I'm trying to call Jason here because he knows what the movie's called. We were watching a show yesterday, and it was a documentary on the manager of Alice Cooper. Okay, and this was like one of the premier agents. He started off with Alice Cooper and then started doing pretty much everybody, and he's the one that made like professional chefs famous and all of this stuff as he, you know what I'm saying, got into it. And he was telling the story how they were on a plane one time, Alice Cooper and the band, they were on a plane traveling somewhere, and the pilot told them that they were going to crash. Right, that they were all going to pretty much die and they were going to crash as they're trying to get home. And I guess, you know what I'm saying, they started just talking this and that and that, and one of the band members says to one of the other band members, just like, hey, by the way, sorry, your kid is actually my kid. I've been sleeping with your wife. and then the best part of the story, the pilot made it so that the plane didn't crash. Everybody landed, but it was like totally dead silence on the plane for the rest of the flight after that. After he made that announcement, after everyone thought they were going to die, and then they all lived and moved on. And I just, your story, Dr. Mark, made me think of that. It was I was laughing very hysterically yesterday from that.
There's an old saying: you can't fix stupid, but yep. I'll add you could try.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's why, I think we need to create smart roads for smart people. Then let all the dumb people sit in the, you know what I'm saying? But on that, we're going to roll.
Well, I think everybody in our chat is smart.
Well, they are smart because they're watching High at 9 News. So that they already got extra points on the scale. You have any final thoughts on this, Jesse? Before we move on?
I feel like we wandered a little bit into just kind of general intelligence discussion, and this study was specifically about older people as brains kind of tend to degenerate, and people sort of start to lose their marbles, so to speak,
their scruples.
Yeah, and we've seen this before, that cannabis is a neuroprotectant, and that especially for older people, it's helping them keep their marbles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what seems to be being highlighted here, and it's been shown over and over again that that's the case. So, you know, if you're getting older, you should be using cannabis. That's just kind of the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Moderately, according to the data at this point.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Rescheduling cannabis, which was classified as more dangerous than fentanyl. Trump's action will destroy the cartel's illicit black market, expand medical research, and ensure seniors and veterans safely receive the care they need. Thank President Trump for delivering on another America First promise.
Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And all the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And also, too, make sure you're subscribing to us on X and Rumble, as those are the most stable platforms on the metaverse. And this weekend, I do have a new dispensary opening up, Bard Boys, in Oxnard, California, right off the 101 freeway. I'm going to be there at some point this weekend. Not exactly sure, possibly maybe even today. It's supposed to have the grand opening starting today, so make sure you come by, check us out, come say hi. And also too, we do want to wish Omar Figueroa, who's been a correspondent on the show, today is his birthday, and so we want to wish him a very, very happy birthday.
Under President Trump, America is back. Trump's delivered the largest tax cut in history, putting more money in our pockets and restored America's economic dominance. Promises made, promises kept. Now it's time to fulfill another promise from President Trump and reschedule cannabis, which supports over 400,000 jobs and creates billions of dollars in economic growth. Reschedule cannabis and stack another win, Mr. President. America First Agriculture Action, Inc. is responsible for the contents of this advertising.
She doubled down.
Yeah, she doubled down. Yeah, we're not going to roll into that, but we're going to roll right into Dr. Mark Scialdone, who is out in the great Green Mountain state of Vermont at St. Michael's College, teaching students all about efficacy, chemicals, and what actually makes them smart overall. And I think there is a stupidity gene out there, Dr. Mark, but nonetheless, it is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone. Oh, Chiquita.
Yes, I recommend that everybody eat a banana. Banana once a day? Kind of like the apple, right, Jean?
Did you see the Ilhan Omar video of her dressed up as the Chiquita banana lady accepting the award? It was pretty good. Oh man, it's hilarious.
All right, Jason. Okay, happy Friday, everyone. Today, my story comes from Helio, and it's entitled "Novel Research Design May Overcome Barriers to Study Cannabis for Cancer Symptom Relief." And it comes from a researcher in Minnesota that I work with this group. So I don't know this particular researcher, but his name is Dr. Dylan Zilla, who's an MD and also the medical director of the Health Partners Institute Cancer Research Center. So I collaborate with Health Partners in Minnesota, and we're doing some interesting studies on intranasal delivery of cannabinoids. But so this article basically looks at investigators and a state-run program partnered on a pilot randomized trial for medical cannabis for people with pancreatic cancer. Jean, you'll be very interested in this study. They actually have an NIH-registered clinical trial that's associated with this. So this is basically a clinical trial of cannabis in humans to treat pancreatic cancer. Results showed the approach is feasible and well received by patients. So a novel collaboration may establish a framework to help researchers overcome regulatory barriers they often face when conducting interventional cannabis trials. Investigators in Minnesota partnered with their state's medical cannabis program on a pilot trial that evaluated whether medical cannabis could ease symptom burdens amongst individuals newly diagnosed with advanced pancreatic cancer. So the pancreas, John, that's where we make insulin. Is that right?
That's right.
That's at the spleen. So insulin. Okay. So the pancreas makes insulin. Insulin is a protein that's very important in sugar metabolism. And so you know that when diabetics don't make enough insulin, they have to actually add insulin as a supplement. So pancreatic cancer is, again, one of those cancers, Jean, correct me if I'm wrong, that sometimes by the time you find out you have advanced pancreatic cancer, sometimes it's very, very difficult to treat. Pancreas is a fatty tissue in your body, and we've talked about this on High at 9 before, where fatty tissues are basically reservoirs for these cannabinoids and their medicinal properties, including anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. So again, maybe the fatty tissues in your body, like your liver, like your brain, and like your pancreas, benefit from treatment from cannabinoids. So investigators in Minnesota partnered with their state's medical cannabis program. Okay, I think I already said that. So results showed that the approach is feasible, safe, and well tolerated by the patients. Researchers also observed preliminary efficacy signal among trial participants who received early access to medical cannabis. That certainly was encouraging, but this small study was not designed to show statistically significant benefits in terms of symptom relief. Lead author Dr. Dylan Zilla, medical director of Health Partners Institute of Cancer Research Center at the Health Partners Institute, told Helio. Our main goal here was to show that patients would enroll, tolerate the treatment, and follow the guidelines about how to use medical cannabis and adhere to completing the weekly questionnaires that we needed. So it sounds like whenever you hear questionnaires, Jean, right, you think of what we call an observational clinical trial, right? So they're administering cannabis to the patients. Now the patients have to fill out questionnaires around what are in those questionnaires, Jean, like pain.
Yeah, get anything from pain scales to mood scales,
right?
To quality of life.
Is it affecting their sleep? Is it affecting their appetite? So they're relying on basically patients to be honest about how they're feeling after they've been treated with the cannabis. So we showed with certainty research with this model is feasible, and expanding to a much larger level would allow us to appropriately power a study to better evaluate symptom changes in a much larger population demographic. Obviously, the larger the study is, the more expensive it is. So you have to start with a small study first before you get to a larger study. So people with pancreatic cancer often experience severe symptoms, including pain, insomnia, and appetite loss. A prior research suggested medical cannabis may help alleviate these symptoms. Regulatory barriers have hindered the ability to obtain high-quality data. Federal Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, classifies marijuana as a Schedule I substance, meaning it has a high potential for abuse, and there are no accepted medical uses for medical treatment within the United States. Investigators who control and dispense cannabis as part of a clinical trial must obtain a special research license from the DEA. So it sounds like they got a Schedule I license to do this. But it's interesting, John, because they're using medical cannabis that's available through the dispensaries in Minnesota, which is kind of like what Sue Sisley's big thing about not getting NIDA-grown cannabis from the University of Mississippi, which is not what her patients were using, because I think her patients were in Arizona, so they were buying Arizona stuff in Arizona dispensaries, and she wanted to do her study on what veterans were actually using. So again, this is a new type of collaboration, a collaboration between the DEA, which is like, okay, you want to run a clinical trial with cannabis? Okay, we're going to let you get it in your state dispensary. So that's a new model, and that's kind of exciting. So Zilla and colleagues aim to determine if partnering with a state-run medical cannabis program could represent a novel pathway to conduct these types of clinical trials. Researchers partnered with the Minnesota Medical Cannabis Program on a pilot randomized waitlist controlled trial to evaluate medical cannabis intervention for people with newly diagnosed locally advanced or metastatic pancreatic adenocarcinoma. Pancreatic cancer, right, Sean?
Adenocarcinoma, yeah. Pancreatic cancer.
So we figured out a way to leverage the state system and partnerships that have forged with state leaders to conduct studies within the confines of this program without having to touch, dispense, or control the cannabis, Zilla said. This eliminates the need for a Schedule I DEA license and many of the regulatory barriers that are made really hard to do this type of work. Trial included 32 participants, median age of 71 years. Whoa, that's kind of old, right? So I guess you're old when you get pancreatic cancer, right, John?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can get it young. I'm young meaning in your 40s or 30s, but you're not getting it as a kid.
So 53% of this study, 53% of these 32 participants were women, and most had reported moderate to severe insomnia. I don't know if that's coming from pancreatic cancer or maybe it's the drugs that they're using that's creating this insomnia.
When you're told that you have a year and a half to live, sometimes that stresses you out.
Yeah, right. I mean, it gets some people excited, though.
Maybe like a baby. I don't know, but I would assume some insomnia in most people who have a year and a half to live.
So they primarily report these three symptoms: insomnia, 85% of the time; pain, 77% of the time; appetite loss, 69%. So these are overwhelming percentages of these patient populations. So the intervention consisted of education about safe use of cannabis, following what Zilla called a start. You're going to love this, John. Start low, go slow approach. And
They're learning from us.
They're learning, right? Maybe they listen to us here at High at Night.
They never know.
So a provision of cannabis products through the state-run medical cannabis program. Participants could continue to receive a standard cancer-directed treatment, supportive care, including opioids or anti-anxiolytics or anxiety medication. Yes. So investigators randomly assign half of the trial participants to early intervention administered during the first 8 weeks of the study. The half that represented the control group received delay intervention and administered during 9 weeks, week 9 through week 16 of the study. Median dose of THC, the primary active ingredient, was only about 7.3 milligrams. That's pretty interesting. But what it doesn't say here in the story that's covering it is how often were they given that 7.3 milligrams. I don't know if that's a daily dose. That seems kind of on the low side, right, John? 7.3 milligrams, kind of low, right? But it really depends on how big the person is. Does the person use cannabis? Do they have other pre-existing conditions? I mean, this will all come out when they do this kind of study on a much larger demographic. And you have patients with pre-existing conditions, overweight patients, diabetic patients, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So the study met the pre-specified feasibility benchmarks of achieving 74% enrollment, 81% compliance with the assigned intervention, and 75% patient reported outcome completion rate. 10 of the 16 patients assigned to early intervention completed the surveys about their study experience. All 10 characterized the study activities, such an enrollment of obtaining cannabis and completing weekly patient-reported outcome assessments as easy, and indicated that they would follow the recommended cannabis use to other patients with similar needs. 9 of the 10 patients indicated that using cannabis was easy and it helped their symptoms with no negative health impacts. I think that statement is very important, because if you look at this demographic, they're probably not weed smokers, right? They're probably maybe they were in the 60s and they grew weed back in the 60s, but if they're in their 70s right now, they're probably not weed smokers. So it's very important, right, John, to get them to adopt to how they're using the cannabis. I think that that's a very important thing. In small studies, you have to be careful with anecdotal information like this, but 100% say they would recommend it to others is pretty powerful. That's a pretty powerful statement. That speaks to the fact that there is something positive going on in these patients that have received medical cannabis. So at 8 weeks, trial participants assigned to the early intervention group experienced numerically higher rates of improvement of insomnia, 30% versus 67%, right? That's a 37% drop, right? Appetite went from 56% down to 30%, again, a 26% drop. And pain went from 44% down to 20%, right? A 24% drop. So I talked to every patient about 2 weeks after they started their cannabis intervention. Zilla said one patient was highly symptomatic and had gone through about a week of chemotherapy. I remember her crying, saying, "This was the first time I could sleep through the night. My pain was finally better." You know, when a doctor hears that testimonial from a patient, it's the first time I've been able to sleep through the night, is very, very powerful. This actually impacted people's lives. It gave this woman comfort and peace that she could not find before that, he added. This is Dr. Zilla talking again. So we needed to figure out a way for this to work on a much larger level in an impactful, practice-changing way. Zilla and colleagues added an amendment to their study protocol, allowing them for their enroll an additional cohort of people newly diagnosed with advanced colorectal cancer. The colorectal cancer, again, John, is one of those cancers that you find out later in life, and sometimes, in some cases, by the time you find out, it's devastating. You're stage 4, they need to remove your colon. So with advanced colorectal cancer, they enrolled 5 patients so far, and the goal is 30. The results so far suggested the collaboration between the investigators and the state cannabis program could help overcome barriers that often arise in cannabis research. Cannabis is not going away, and our patients are interested in it, Zilla said. This study highlights medical cannabis can be rigorously and safely studied amongst people with cancer, and preliminary results point to its potential for symptom management and improvement. Ultimately, we want larger clinical trials to confirm these benefits, he added. As an oncologist and a clinical researcher, my goal remains to find ways to improve symptoms and maximize the quality of life for all of our patients going through cancer treatment. Personally, I think cannabis has the real potential to help. So I went to their paper, and I also went to the description on clinicaltrials.gov. So if you go to clinicaltrials.gov, if you're interested in this particular clinical trial, it's NCT 066054030. And they talk again, just describing the way that they're conducting the trial. They don't really talk about the results here. But yeah, this is really significant. And I could speak to this group here, Health Partners. They are really, really good. Some of the world leading experts in conducting clinical trials, and they do a lot of work for the pharmaceutical and biotech and medical device industries. And my researcher collaborator that I collaborated at Health Partners, I pointed this article out to him, and he's like, yeah. He's like, Dylan is really one of the leaders and shakers that's moving medical cannabis into the clinic. So that's my story today. Happy Friday. I hope everyone's got big Super Bowl plans. I hope you pack a big bowl on Super Bowl. And I don't know. I don't really have a dog in this fight, so go see.
You're going to go for the Hawks then, bro. I'm a Hawks fan. Go Hawks.
Well, I'm in New England, so typically somebody would be a Patriots fan, but I say go Seahawks.
There we go.
I'd be interested in what my
Seahawks, the dirty bird, really?
Correspondents have.
Who are they playing?
The Patriots.
They're playing they're going to get smoked. The Patriots are going to smoke them. Robert Kraft is I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you what it is. Your mind. Bro, it's America, bro. It's the Patriots. Hold on a second, bro. It's America's 250th birthday, bro. All these things are totally rigged. There's no way Seattle is going to beat the Patriots on America's 250th anniversary, okay? Just put your money on the Pats.
Why they're going to win.
Just put your money on the Pats.
No way.
Yeah. Totally.
No way.
Mm-hmm. Just saying.
No.
Who won the Super Bowl after 9/11? The Patriots. Just saying, bro. It's not a conspiracy if it's true.
Okay, anyway, back to the story. John, what do you think of this? What's your impression of this study?
Great. We've known for quite a while that smoking weed helps with the symptoms of cancer from chemotherapy. And so this is getting it down into a study which is long overdue. So I'm very happy that these guys are pulling this off. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, the next question is, does it also help with fighting the cancer, beating the cancer?
Right.
So
it helps manage the symptoms. The symptoms that they talked about were appetite loss, insomnia, and anxiety, and pain. Also, they talked about pain. But
those are the four corners of the world, right? Any cannabis product helps those four things: pain, mood, sleep, and appetite. 96% of my patients fall into one of those categories or more.
So just based on the dosing, they said the average dose that they were getting was 7.3 milligrams. Again, I'll have to read the paper and understand, what was that was that per, how many times a day did they get that dose? That seems like low. And to answer you, or to address your question of, is it actually fighting the cancer? Wouldn't you think that a more heroic dose, like a 50 or maybe 100 milligram dose,
it's hard to say. I've met several miracle cases, is what I call them, the people who had survived pancreatic cancer. Most of them have had that surgery. It's the Whipple surgery, where they take out their pancreas, part of their pancreas, in order to take the tumor out. But, even if they did that back in the day before I started seeing cannabis patients, most would die. So I saw several pancreatic cancer patients die even after the surgery. Maybe it improved your survival by 4 months or something. But then to see in the cannabis world, people who were smoking the flower and sort of 7 years out and still alive is what I call my miracle cases. Not everyone's like that. There were others who were desperately trying and passed away using cannabis. So still don't know what dose works best. I usually tell them to go the RSO route, just assuming that flooding the endocannabinoid system with cannabinoids may do it, but I don't know. Really, I don't know.
Well, and you'd think, so 7.3 milligrams, I mean, in Minnesota, they got these 10 milligram beverages, right?
Yeah.
So one can of a 10 milligram beverage, that gives you 10 milligrams. So I think they need to up their doses, but I get his approach. Start low and go slow. Right? I thought you'd like that. Yeah. But, the fact that they figured out a mechanism that they can partner with their state medical cannabis program, I think here is significant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been there, and it was the way that Sue Sisley could have gone around the whole thing. But she was using VA people, and really needed to fight the federal government.
And much love to
Anyway.
Sue Sisley, 100%. And
Yeah.
and I'm in agreement with you guys in this is that we need to make sure that we are using actual cannabis, not this NIDA approved ridiculousness. And shout out to all the doctors and researchers that fight to make that a reality. Much love to all
the
of
cannabis doctors. So John, Sue Sisley, Bonnie Goldstein, Eb Kimless, we love you all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's even there's more
doctors who are planting the flag, and this guy Dylan Zilla, I really want to meet him. If I ever travel to Health Partners, I'm going to try to get a meeting with him because it sounds like he's very pro cannabis. But yeah, you doctors are the ones that are basically going to convince the rest of the doctors that this is the way to go.
I mean, and Dr. Mark, don't leave out Dr. Donald Abrams either. He's
yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Donald Abrams.
Yep.
It's a long legacy of people who've been stressed and who've passed away. Like we mentioned, Dr. McCarea too.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah. Much love to all of them. And on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back. Did you see what oh, it's not working. Are you there, Gabe? Can you play Anna's Joint? Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's Joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Not making this up.
Crazy.
I'm telling you, bro. They're not gonna. I'm telling you. That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying, Jesse. There's no way the Patriots are gonna lose, because otherwise the NFL will lose its nonprofit status. There you go. I said it. Okay. Prove me wrong. Yep, exactly. I know your mind has exploded.
Well, I think it's the opposite of what you're thinking, because I think that the NFL is going to be anti-American, but
it's not.
So
I think Seahawks are going to win because they need payback from that Omar Sean
That's
Lynch.
right.
They're not.
That's
No,
right.
you guys are crazy.
That's right.
I love that we have a little conspiracy theory analogy to determine who's going to win. This is actually pretty cool. But I'm telling you, there's no way that the NFL will keep their nonprofit status if they let the Seahawks win. But nonetheless, we're going to keep this thing rolling right into Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co. and can help take your brand to the highest plateaus, higher than even the Seahawks can even fly on Sunday. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
Go Hawks. Go Hawks. Let's go. My story comes out of the Marijuana Herald, and it's a study: maternal marijuana use not linked to retinopathy of prematurity in preterm infants. Dr. Jean, you're going to really have to chime in on this, because this is pretty interesting. And I don't like half of the story because it's mostly about marijuana use disorder, quote unquote. But well,
that's because we know that's not real. It's a fake condition.
I know. That's what this whole story is based on, it though. So it's kind of interesting.
You're the perfect person to cover it.
Yeah, for sure. A large study published in the Journal of American Association for Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus found that preterm infants born to mothers with a diagnosed marijuana use disorder were no more or less likely to develop retinopathy of prematurity, or ROP as it's referred to in the rest of this article, than those born to mothers without such a diagnosis. And ROP is basically things going wrong with the blood vessels in the eye that can cause blindness, and it's usually associated with diabetes as well. just so you know, because I had to look that up.
Mm-hmm.
Researchers from the University of California, San Diego analyzed data from 31,110 singleton preterm births recorded between 2011 and 2020 using the university's Study of Outcomes in Mothers and Infants database. The study focused specifically on infants born between 22 and less than 31 weeks gestation and or those weighing under 1,500 grams at birth who survived long enough to undergo standard ROP screening. Among the 997 infants born to mothers with a marijuana use disorder diagnosis during pregnancy, 32% developed ROP. This was nearly identical to the 33% rate observed among the 30,000 infants whose mothers did not have such a diagnosis. After adjusting for numerous maternal demographic and clinical factors, including smoking, alcohol use, anxiety, depression, hypertension, and socioeconomic indicators, researchers found no statistically significant difference in risk. The adjusted relative risk was 1 with a 95% confidence interval of 0.9 to 1.11. The study also examined more serious cases of the condition. Severe ROP occurred in 4.5% of infants born to mothers with a marijuana use disorder. They love to use that word in this article. Compared to 5% among those without. The difference was also not statistically significant after adjustment. ROP is a potentially blinding disorder caused by abnormal retinal blood vessel development in premature infants. It is one of the leading causes of preventable childhood vision impairment in the United States. While previous research has shown that maternal marijuana use is associated with preterm birth and low birth weight, Dr. T, is that true? That's where I want you to chime in. Both known ROP risk factors, this analysis found that marijuana use disorder itself did not independently influence ROP risk once those and other variables were accounted for. The authors note several limitations, including reliance on diagnostic codes to identify marijuana use disorder, which does not capture frequency, timing, method of use, or total exposure. So it's interesting that they're using that so intensely, but they are just relying on a code and not any of the diagnostic information. They also caution that racial disparities in drug screening practices during pregnancy could influence who receives such diagnoses in hospital records. Still, given the growing prevalence of marijuana use during pregnancy in the United States, the researchers say the findings help clarify at least one potential neonatal outcome that does not appear to be directly affected. That's the end of the article. So it's kind of funny because it's like this study on one hand is showing that cannabis is not giving this negative outcome that they were kind of looking for or looking to see if it did do that. But then on the other hand, they're mentioning marijuana use disorder over and over again. And Dr. T, does cannabis use, is it associated with preterm birth and low birth weight?
It's under debate, and actually a recent so there's old demographic studies that show that people who use cannabis tended to have low birth weight, and these studies really come from a time where people who use cannabis were living in the illicit world. It's illegal, and they tended to do other illegal things. And so that association made their lives a little bit more troublesome, including having low birth weight children. Well, a recent study of people who have normal births and then people who have normal births with cannabis use, meaning that they tested positive for cannabis use while they were pregnant. And they looked at the size of the baby, they looked at the wellness of the baby and found no difference between them. So a relatively new study just out, what journal from sort of refutes that whole idea that cannabis use causes low birth weight, and maternal cannabis use in childhood symptoms.
I mean, this is the whole thing. If they were going to try to say that cannabis caused low birth rates, I mean, I feel like Jamaica would be the perfect place to be able to demonstrate that happening, and that has never came out of saying that that's happening in Jamaica, and the moms in Jamaica generally continue to consume cannabis throughout the entire pregnancy, all 9 months. Yeah, and so if it's not happening there, it's not going to happen here.
Well, you know, people will, and this study is kind of really try to hedge their bet to come up with some positive findings. I mean, some type of rare preterm condition, you know, preterm birth, low birth weight condition. They're like for sure that cannabis use is gonna affect that, and let's just make sure we choose people who have been diagnosed with cannabis use disorder. So people who are kind of in trouble for using cannabis for some reason, and they still found no differences. So they tried, but striking out here, cannabis seems to be sort of not causing problems in utero. For those of us who are worried about that out there.
Yeah, we all know that's a whole bunch of fake news. You know what I'm saying? All this propagandists out there trying to manipulate the plant and say it does all these bad things when it's just doing a whole bunch of good for people. And that's probably why they're propagandists like that, because they don't want you to be good. They don't want you to be healthy, and they don't want you to be safe.
But it is, despite the sort of propaganda that's put in this study just through use of the term and kind of assuming that they know what that term even is, and they even admit that they weren't identifying like the actual use frequency, any methods of use or anything. It was just using the diagnostic code, and that could be totally skewed.
Well, speaking of skewed, Jesse, my body, my minds in the chat is like, I wonder how many also smoke cigarettes.
Well, they did say that they did account for that stuff.
They did account for that. Okay.
Yeah, they did say that they accounted for alcohol and smoking and other factors that might be at play. So that part was good. And this is observational, just looking through all these studies. So it was good they at least considered that. It's just funny that they're kind of trying to say this marijuana use disorder over and over again, but then the end of it is it didn't do anything bad that we were looking for. So it's kind of, it's like one of the other.
Kudos to them for reporting the results. That's good. You know, they could have not reported this, but you know.
Fair enough. Well, I have one final story for you guys that I think you guys are going to like. And I think it's perfect to end on this story. So in that way, to make sure that everybody remembers it. You know what I'm saying, doctors? Because a marijuana, and this is coming out of Fox News too, you guys, just so you know what I mean? Because a marijuana compound may help prevent dementia when paired with a common drug, you guys. That's right. THC shown to help Alzheimer's at bay, or help keep Alzheimer's at bay when combined with pain medication, you guys. As marijuana's potential health benefits are under debate, new researchers found that THC could have a powerful and positive effect on the brain. Researchers at the University of Texas, UT, at San Antonio Long School of Medicine recently discovered that THC, the main psychoactive compound in cannabis, could prevent the development of Alzheimer's disease, but only when paired with an anti-inflammatory drug called Colexicib, Colecoxib. I think I murdered that. What? How do I say that, doctors? Celexob or something. Celexiob or something like that.
Oh, Celebrex is the brand name.
So Celebrex is the name brand name. So this is the generic general name of it. Colecoxib. Interesting. So we'll refer to it as Celebrex is a selective COX-2 inhibitor that is commonly prescribed for arthritis pain. And while THC has previously been shown to have anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective properties, it also has been linked to negative effects on the brain, particularly in learning and memory, according to a UT Health press release. Combining THC with an anti-inflammatory drug, however, could provide the same benefits with fewer negative side effects. The study, which was published in the Journal of Aging and Disease, paired low-dose THC extract with colixib, which was administered to mice daily for 30 days. The mice received the treatments before the development of memory symptoms to measure the impact of preventing or delaying Alzheimer's. The results showed improved cognition, learning, and memory, as well as decreased markers of neuroinflammation and reduced Alzheimer's-related brain pathology, the release stated. Although THC alone had the same results, it also increased inflammatory signals, while the combination dosage did not. In a quote, they say, "What really mattered was behavior. If cognition is not improved, then the treatment doesn't matter. And that's where the combination clearly worked better than THC alone," noted the lead study Chu Chen, PhD, professor in the Department of Cellular and Integrative Psychology. And years of research led Chen to connect the dots on how THC can manipulate the brain and why it's difficult to use safely for neurological conditions, according to UT Health. When THC is given, it unexpectedly increases COX-2 in the brain. That increase is closely associated with learning and memory impairment, Chan said. And both THC and colixib are FDA approved for the use in humans, which could provide a real advantage in moving along to clinical trials, according to UT Health. What really mattered was behavior. If cognition is not improved, then the treatment doesn't matter, he says, doubles down again. And future studies will investigate whether the drug combination can slow disease progression or reverse deficits after symptoms have appeared. And finally, he says, this work has taken many years, but now we're at a point where basic neuroscience discoveries are pointing towards something that could realistically move into the clinic, Chen said. Dr. Paul Safier, a neurosurgeon and founder of Colexial Neurosurgical Specialist in New Jersey, called this research an exciting breakthrough with a huge potential impact for patients and their families. Neurocognitive deterioration has been linked to conditions that cause inflammation with the brain, prior brain bleeds, strokes, tumors, and infections, he told Fox News Digital. We also know that the buildup of the plaques related to Alzheimer's, beta amyloid plaques, are the result of chronic inflammation. So it makes sense that this combination therapy might help limit the production of this amyloid and thereby reduce the amyloid and thereby reduce the progression of the disease. Sefer said the drug's FDA approval status is encouraging, as it may ultimately ease the availability for patients if the trial proves successful. I look forward to the results of this trial, as well as any future trials that look at limiting the effects of chronic inflammation within the central nervous system, they say. Look at that, some positive news out of Fox around Alzheimer's and taking THC. Look at that, you guys. What do y'all got to say about this? Look at that. What a great way to end the show on a Friday.
No, first of all, somebody's paying Fox. The thing about THC is it reduces your beta amyloid plaques by itself. It doesn't need Celebrex to reduce your beta amyloid. It also by itself reduces agitation in people with Alzheimer's. Seems to be a potential preventative for getting Alzheimer's if you're using THC.
So hold on a second.
Worried about Alzheimer's. That's by itself.
Now, Dr. T, quick question.
Celebrex was like, yeah, I'm also a COX-2 inhibitor because THC has some COX-2 activity. And so they're like, let's just combine it, do some synergy, and really push it as THC. So it's kind of like THC is really the substance that's holding all the power. But Celebrex is like, maybe we could raise our sales, because Celebrex sales went down with they were associated with some heart issues way back, so they lost some sales that way. So they're trying to use THC to get their sales back. I gotta run.
Hold on, Dr.
T.
Dr. T, one quick thing before you go. So that means you're not gonna Celebrex the fact of THC and helping with Alzheimer's. Is that what I'm hearing?
I always support people using THC for Alzheimer's. I think the early evidence indicates it's worth a trial, especially if you're worried about getting it. At least it'll relax you enough to not to worry so much.
Fair enough. Thanks so much, brother. We appreciate you, man. Have a great weekend. God bless. Take care.
See you, Dr.
Bye-bye.
T.
Oh man, guys.
I agree. This is a Celebrex promotion. They're combining it with cannabis. We know that THC does exactly what they're testing for.
So you don't want to Celebrex THC, huh, Jesse?
I wouldn't put Celebrex with THC. Well, like, why are you doing that? Just use the THC.
I'm going to Celebrex all weekend long.
And then the other fail about this is why they didn't use CBD combined with it, because it's just going to increase this.
Maybe they knew it was going to work even better.
Anti-inflammatory effects.
Yeah. Maybe.
So this is somewhat this is a Celebrex promotion more than a THC promotion. But it is good that they're mentioning. I see what you're doing. It's good that they're mentioning THC in a positive light on Fox. Okay, cool. But
this
Fox is also promoting Big Pharma.
They may be promoting. Well, they're getting ready to move to Schedule 3. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, but we don't need to promote the Big Pharma.
I'm gonna be Celebrexing all weekend long, Jesse. This amazing study.
You can overdose on Celebrex, bro.
Dr. Mark, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts.
Oh, please.
I know what's going on here. So what happens is, there's an old saying is that the dose is the poison, right? So THC, through action at CB1 receptors, right? It's an agonist, right? So it activates
it said that.
receptor. That ultimately leads to an increase in COX-2 expression, right? So COX-2 is an enzyme that you want to inhibit to reduce inflammation. So what you would think is that, again, THC would actually increase inflammatory response. Just to mention what Jesse was saying, so the reason why they paired this with a COX-2 inhibitor is because THC is known for doing this, right? So you add Celebrex, which is the COX-2 inhibitor, but like what Jesse said, CBD also inhibits COX-2, right? COX-2 is an enzyme that creates inflammatory molecules that, when are released, initiate the inflammation process. So if you can block that, you stop inflammation. So there's a combination here, and I think what the article points to is the fact that you might be able to combine a low dose of THC, which is effective at reducing the symptoms for Alzheimer's, without elevating the amount of COX-2. COX-2 is going to increase inflammation, which could lead to a headache. It could lead to pain. It could lead to all different kinds of downstream effects. What they're trying to do is they're trying to counterbalance what's known about THC and elevating the expression level of COX by including a COX inhibitor with it. That's all.
Interesting. Any final thoughts on this, Jesse?
No, that's it. I mean,
right.
I do think it's good that there's a positive story in Fox News about THC. That's great. I just wish that they wouldn't have included it with celecoxib. Is how you pronounce it.
But this is the thing: is that Fox News is Celebrexing THC.
Well,
low dose of THC.
Just saying.
Yeah. They should have included CBD, and they should have eliminated the celecoxib.
Fair enough. Well, on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high at noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.